can have report of field force in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Beyond the Launch, the podcast that explores what really happens after the deal is signed and the product goes live. Because real impact doesn't come from implementation alone. It comes from intentional, strategic customer success. Hosted by Ivan Whitaker, an experienced executive in sales, customer success, and implementations, including complex 911 and public safety implementations. This podcast goes beyond the launch to uncover what truly takes drive, adoption, measurable outcomes, and long-term success.
Welcome to Beyond the Launch, where we go beyond the go live to talk about customer success, adoption, implementation, and the technology shaping the 911 environment. Today's episode is titled Purpose Before Profit, the duty commercial partners owe the 911 community. Our guest is Samantha Hawkins, a former telecommunicator, nationally recognized 911 instructor, speaker, and ECC leader with more than a decade of experience behind the headset. Samantha has trained professionals in 8 emergency communication centers across 7 states, served as chair of APCO International's editorial committee, and published articles in leading industry publications, including APCO's PSC magazine, Nina's The Call, and the Journal of Emergency Dispatch. Today, she serves as the ECC Engagement Lead at NextGen 911, helping agencies strengthen life-saving skills through voice AI training simulations while continuing to teach nationwide on leadership, training, wellness, and the future of emergency communications. Hello, Samantha. Welcome to the podcast.
My goodness. It is an honor, truly an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for even having these conversations, because it matters so much and it's so important. So thank you.
You know, Samantha, it is such a joy. I see you all over the internet, all over social media. Just about every time I clicked on LinkedIn, I see your face pop up with all of the things that you're doing to make a better space for telecommunicators. And so we're just so proud to have you on the podcast today. I do have a couple of icebreakers for you to help people get to know you a little bit better. So the first one, Samantha, is after years behind the headset and now working with agencies nationwide, what's one thing you wish more people understood about the 911 profession?
I'll tell you one thing. This is something that I say all the time. Before I went to the commercial side, aka the dark side, but I like to think it can be a light side too, right? Because
Yes.
we try to bring light, and if we're doing it right, we're bringing light and we're bringing hope to our 911 heroes. But before I went there, one thing that I tell folks all the time, I love the fact, if I had come from just a very large center, because I spent 8 years of my life in a large metropolitan center where we was blessed to have the budget, to have the resources, and truly, I had the time, I had the training, right? But if I had come straight from that into the commercial side, then I might have came into it with the belief that, you know what, every center, you should just be able to afford it all, right? And I might
Right.
have tied to it that, well, if you can't afford it, what are you doing wrong, right? How do you not have the budget? But it's the fact that after spending 8 years in this large center, I spent 3 years as a traveler, right? And I was traveling as a telecommunicator, traveling as a CTO. And in those 3 years, I served in some of the most incredible centers with the same amount of heart, same heartbeat, the same passion, the same joy, wanting the best for their people, wanting to give their people the best. But I saw the other side, that not every center has the same resources, same training budget to work with. And so one of the things that you have to understand is, while what is the same across 911, this industry, is the love and the passion behind what they do, behind what these heroes accomplish. But every center does not look the same, and they're not working with the same budget and the same resources. And so having that understanding, I think, is so important, and really educating the communities as well. That's why we should support. And should have those conversations, bring those conversations back to your commissioners, bring them back to your board to say, hey, are we doing our part? What can we do? Can we petition? Can we write letters to make sure they do have the budget and have the monies and have the resources? And when you do hear, conversations and that come out and you see a news story, don't just assume like, oh, they just want they just want to spend money on some new technology. No, understand that they might be spending money on something that is truly critical and that's overdue. So if anything,
Yes.
let's actually do our education and support and realize that not every center is built the same. They all want the same. They want their people to be empowered, but they're not all working with the same resources. So That's one of the things that I wish more folks knew.
Yeah, outstanding, Samantha. I love where you're going with that. The role of leadership at 911 is evolving. I know that we talk about the day-to-day tasks that are in dispatch, but I think from a leadership perspective, the role of acquiring resources to be able to move organizations in the future is critical now, to where you're stepping out of the bow into meeting with legislators. And you mentioned that, and meeting with stakeholders, boards, to be able to push your initiatives forward. So thank you for mentioning that. Another icebreaker I have for you, you've worked with ECCs across the country. What's one quality the best telecommunicators and leaders always seem to have?
It's so hard to narrow down to one. Think personally speaking, I like to say passion. I think that's so important, but I don't even think that's it. If I had to narrow down to one, I think at the end of the day, it's the grit. It's the tenacity. And even the grit, I taught a class recently at a conference, and I had someone come to me afterwards and said, "You know what? I remember that when I first started, they were just in training, and they mentioned how someone came to them and said, I think you need to start planning another career path because I don't think this is it for you." And they said, right then and there, they decided to, within themselves, no, this is for me. And we're talking about now, this is 15 years later, okay? And I was having that conversation with them, and it was the fact of it's that grit. And you see it, it may look a little different from in one 911 professional to another, but it's that same thing that we carry, that tenacity to overcome, even again, overcoming, working with little resources and stuff and making the best that you can. Because I have so much appreciation, again, working on the commercial side. And yes, here we are and we have our platform of solutions. But I come into centers sometimes and they say, you know what, before we had any of that, this is what we were doing. This is how we were making it work. And the appreciation I have that, again, as a trainer, as a training manager, as a supervisor, as a director, the grit, the tenacity to say, maybe we couldn't afford this, but we wanted to have something in place. And however it looks, and again, it kind of evolves as you move from, say, frontline and into supervision, into managing a center. But however it looks, I love it. And I think that that is one thing that I see, period. That grit, that tenacity to get the job done, to be the best at it. And that to me is just hallmark of the best of this profession.
Yeah. In your travels, you get to see many with that grid across the country. So I'm sure that you have plenty of stories to tell. Getting into the core of the questions today, we kind of want to pivot a bit and talk a little bit about the topic of purpose before profit. And so, Samantha, when you say purpose before profit, what does that mean in the context of companies serving 911 and emergency communications?
So first of all, it sounds catchy. I think it sounds catchy. It sounds clever. It sounds like it could be, the beginning of a sermon, Ivan. But more than that, what does it mean, right? Because we're a business, right? We're a business. Every single commercial partner, it's no secret. We have business models. We got to make a profit. But what do we mean when we say putting purpose, putting the people, putting the mission first? And I'll tell you what it means. Right off the bat, you've got to establish your mission and your values. And that's important. And I'll tell you, when I joined in December with this Gen 911, that was one of the things that as a team, we worked together. So our leadership, they definitely was like, we've got to make sure our mission and our values are clear, including putting it on our website and making sure everyone on this team is on the same page. Because if you're here to just make a lot of money, then go ahead and walk away. That's not our purpose. And so, even on our website, we laid out 6 very important values. And I'm not going to walk through every one, but one of them that just speaks to who we are is it says that, feedback should land while it matters, right? So I'm just going to use that as an example. If we say then that, hey, we have this solution and we're putting forth this solution when it comes to quality assurance, right? Great. Why? Are you just getting into it because it's trendy? Because it's trending, because because this just seems to be the thing and you just want to put out a quality assurance solution? Or are you putting it out there because your people, your partners, your partner agencies, your customers have been coming to you saying there's a need? And so that is an example to us of purpose first. And that's why we have found ourselves, and I think as vendors, you find yourselves sometimes where it may not have been on your radar to go down a path. You might not have thought, I'm going to offer this solution. But
Right.
then your partner agencies that you work with say, hey, we have a need for this. Can you
Right.
build it? Right? And that might look like building it and not charging a dime for it. But if it's a need and if it could benefit and if it could help, then That is an example of that. That's mission first, that's people first. Because without the people using these solutions, without them providing the feedback to make it better, then we're going to disappear. So we're only as great as a vendor, as a commercial partner. We're only as great as the heroes who are actually using it, who are actually helping us make it better with feedback, with suggestions. And they always do. They're always, coming from that side. I remember I always had suggestions, right? And so now
Right.
I'm not a headset hero anymore. We're on this side. I'm on this side taking the feedback. And so that to us is what it means to put, purpose first before profit.
Yeah, there's 2 points I wanna make, and you're talking about the purpose and the mission of a company or a vendor. I know that companies that stick along those lines, they'll make the adjustments. When you were first talking about those smaller or those agencies that just couldn't afford certain things, the companies that are mission first, they just find a way to be able to serve those agencies even when those agencies don't have the budget. And again, on point two is the adjustments in kind of what the sales models are to be able to reach those varying clients or 911 centers. They get really creative when the mission is first. And another question I have for you is technology vendors often talk about supporting public safety, but what does genuine commitment to the mission actually look like in practice?
So that's going to touch back to it. So here's one of the things. For a while, we gotta admit, we gotta apologize. We have to apologize to the 911 community. And I'm gonna apologize too as someone recently now in this space, because there wasn't a whole lot of education that we were putting out from the beginning. And so this is what we were doing. We were giving, and we weren't doing it thinking we were doing any harm, but on this side, on the commercial space, we were just pushing half the story, half of the narrative. So I'll give you an example here. Even if I said, true story, I was on a plane the other day, and would you believe that a person on this plane put their fist into my side? What what would you say? What would you say? Look, I know, right? You're looking like
Right.
exactly, right? You're feeling a certain way now. You'd be like, you know what, Sam, what we got to do? Do we need to take up a GoFundMe account for distress and suffering, like everything? And then I'd
Right.
look at you and I'd go, Ivan, calm down, calm down. You're getting carried away, right? Okay.
Right.
So pause. When we are having conversations now and we are still trying to demystify AI and next-gen 911 technology, and we're having to say things like, it's not trying to take your jobs, right? But meanwhile, in the beginning, when we would talk about it, there wasn't the education. So when we would say things like, oh, I hope you're ready, it's coming whether you're ready or not. And now there's these fears that we're trying to dispel. The fault isn't on the 911 community because they have these fears and this is what they're fighting. The fault is we were giving them half the story. Just like if I turned around and I said, Ivan, okay, let me tell you the rest of the story. Yes, a person on the plane did put their fist in my side, but it happened to be a toddler, Ivan. They're only about a
Mm.
third of my height. He was sandwiched, this little boy, cutest little boy, sandwiched between me and his mom. We're all standing up on the plane. We're ready to deplane. And he just kind of grabbed hold to the nearest thing, which was my shirt. And I felt his little side, just his fist in my side, right? Didn't mean no harm. Well, now you have
Right.
the whole story. Now you can
Right.
react to the whole story. But we weren't putting out the right education from the beginning. And now we're trying to do that. And kudos to the vendors and kudos even to those in the industry who were trying to dispel some of those fears. But this is what we're doing. This is why we're having those conversations, and I love it. I was at a conference recently, and there was about 4 of us all talking about AI and how it's meant to empower and support. So number 1 is education. That is so, so important. We talk about, hey, we want to work with you, we want to partner with you. Let's educate on what we are here to do and what we're here to not do. We're not replacing you. Not the best AI technology in the world would ever replace the empathy and the heart and the compassion and the experience of a 911 professional. But if I can make your job just a little bit easier, if I can alleviate a task that you shouldn't be bogged down with, if I can automate a task that now you can have more time focusing on the stuff that, guess what? I can automate that task for you and I can have a machine do it. But that task that only you as a human can do, the coaching and the mentoring, you should have more time for that. That's the education that we owe it to them. We owe it to them, and we owed it to them from the beginning, and we owe it now, because I know coming from that side, I was afraid of it. I didn't know what to think. And so that is first and foremost. And I think the second thing, if I had to narrow it down, we got to make it accessible. We can't still live in a world, in a realm where people go, man, that looks so cool. I wish I had that, but there's no way I can pay the same amount for that as a larger center. We're defeating the point. That's not purpose before. And so if you're going to build, you can build, again, the best technology in the world, build the engines, build the solutions. Please continue to build it, but ensure that it's accessible and it actually reaches everyone. Because if you're just building it and then building barriers to it cost-wise, then you've become part of the problem and you didn't even realize it. So that to me is very important.
Oh, a great take. Both points 1 and 2. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing in my agency. We're on a journey. We're meeting with every single employee right now because we have a big year ahead of us with implementing tech and AI. And so the purpose is to talk about the journey. We have a kind of a journey board that's actually talking about every one of the implementations, but the purpose behind it and the message underneath is that this is not meant to take your job. We're far away from ever having those discussions, at least not in my career, in my time. So thank you for pointing that out. The next question is, from your perspective, what responsibilities do commercial partners have when their technology directly impacts life and death environments like emergency communication centers?
Man. So I think one of the things is, obviously, it has to be resilient and it has to be reliable. Okay. And when I said in the beginning, when it comes to everyone on your team has to be on the same page, I'll pull a page out of the book of my company. We have ourselves a co-founder and a builder. I mean, he's the mind, the brain behind it. That man won't put out a single release of anything before he has ensured it has been tested and has been proven. And again, that is something you see in some of the best vendors in this space. And there's a lot of vendors, thankfully, that cares about this industry. And that is one of the things. Do not ship anything, do not release anything that you haven't tested, you haven't proven, you haven't tried to break. And I saw this recently, and I thought, my goodness, this applies to what we do. And it was talking about in another industry how they can handle inconvenience more than they can handle unpredictability. And I'll tell you, that is so important when it comes to, on this side, whatever we put out, whatever we build, whatever technology that we support, they can handle the inconvenience. I'd rather put off a partner who's like, when is this being released? When is this being released? And say, you know what? Give us a little more time. Give us a little more time, okay? I know it's imminent. I know it's coming, right? But give us a little more time. I'd rather do that than to see something go out and I know it's going to break down. And we're talking about a profession that is mission critical. We're talking about a profession where training literally impacts lives. Because if we are building whatever software you're putting out there, whatever solutions, if you're putting out training solutions, and we're talking about solutions for heroes in training who will undoubtedly impact a life, save a life, bring a life back from the brink, bring someone back from the brink, de-escalate a situation, right? So even if it's a training solution, I don't care if it's a solution we built and we're rolling it out free. It needs to be stable and it needs to be reliable. It needs to be ready and up to par and ready to function when they need it. And so to me, that's one of the things that is so important. But the other thing as well, it's because of the nuance of the job and the flexibility of the job and whether again training or quality assurance. You also can't in an industry where we on the commercial side, we're automating stuff. That's what we do, harnessing the power of AI, right, to automate tasks. But we can't make it so automated that there's no room for human overrides. Because if they need to intervene, if they need to override something, if they need to do something, they should be able to. And sometimes it's easy to cross that line as well. And so again, we're dealing with an industry that is not all that predictable. And so it needs to be right then, if they have to override something, if they need to change something, if they need to intervene, I think that's part of it as well. So we're not just giving them an off the box type of here it is, just take it, make it work. No, that's not real to the job. It's not real. And there's nothing generic. Again, being blessed to have worked in so many different agencies and from just all across this country, right? Centers are not generic and the people are not generic and the trainers are not generic. So it also, that's how you benefit. That's how when you create something, it can't just be one size fits all, because that's not real. And if it doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel authentic, they're not going to use it. Okay. So they just signed a contract. They got you for a year, and it's going to sit there and rot. Okay.
Yeah.
I want them to use it, and I want it to feel like it matters to them. And the last piece I would say, just leaning into again where it's got to speak to them, is that's
Yep.
one of the things with us. That's why when it came to like training, train true to location, right? Yes, let's make it something you can tailor to your jurisdiction, because that is real to your people. Why are we using fake stuff, fake addresses, fake anything, when you got enough from your own actual environment, the communities you serve? And so that is to me is very important in serving the 911 heroes.
Absolutely. And so, Samantha, you're speaking on a couple of topics that are dear to my heart. One is training, quality assurance. And so
Oof.
I'd like to segue a little bit into, tell me about your journey into this Gen 911. How did that come about? And tell me a little bit more about the company.
I so will, brother. I tell you. So, I can't say that I was, a 5-year-old sitting in my room thinking, you know what I'm going to do when I grow up? I'm going to be a 911 dispatcher. No, I wasn't. I didn't have that. I thought I was going to be some poet, or be writing books, or novels. I was going to be the next female Nicholas Sparks or something. But this profession truly found me. And I tell you what, after I spent 11 years, I didn't officially hang up the headset until November 17th, 2025. And leading up to that, there was always that, I kind of dabbled a lot on the commercial side, was contracting here, doing stuff there. But I knew it was going to have to take a really special organization to make me hang it up, because I knew it was going to be the most bittersweet thing in the world, was to not be in the trenches any longer. And so I came, great conversation with the CEO and co-founder, Zach Randall. And I ended up signing on the dotted line. And I tell you what, I was still, trying to wrap my head around my new life on the commercial side. I'm not a headset hero. My job is going to be to support the headset heroes, but I won't be a headset hero anymore. And this is when I knew I was at the right place. Okay. Because you all have that, that moment. And for those of you who, are thinking of that transition, right? Man, it's a beautiful thing when you find the organization for you. And I knew it when my first weekend saw we had a meeting with a friend of mine. That was someone I knew. Okay. I know this person. And it was with their company. And I was like, that's great. And so we had this meeting, and it was a check-in meeting where the CEO was checking in saying, hey, and I realized that was something we do, right? And we're all accessible. It doesn't matter. He's CEO, co-founder. Doesn't matter. People have his number. He's on speed dial. They know they can always reach him. So he's checking in on them. And I'm listening. And then I hear them go, so where do we send the check? And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I thought they said they were using us for 4 months. What do you mean? When did you send the check in? But I contained myself. I held it in, and I waited till afterwards. And I was like, maybe I misheard that.
Right.
And he goes, oh yeah. He said their budget hadn't come in yet, but they had a training. So why were we going to make them wait if they had a training class? So we let them use it for 4 months. And I learned that was not uncommon, not unusual. That's something we do. We never had anybody say, you know what? Thank you for letting us use it from this one class. That was awesome. Bye-bye. Everyone always sticks around. That's a partnership. That's a
Yep.
partnership. And
Yep.
so that's when I knew this is where I wanted to be. And so, this Gen 911, what we are is, we offer end-to-end solutions. So we've got the pre-hire assessment piece, which, and I will mention this, I love to mention free stuff because I'm not a salesperson. So by the way, for anyone, by the time you watch this, right, you're going to be the first person to know this, because we had been rolling out our pre-hire assessment piece for free, right? That's one of those things where it was a need that came up. So why are we going to sit here and charge for that when we know it can benefit people? When we know that as much as a trainer, I want you to train smarter, but I know also as a trainer, I used to sit there and no judgment, but I'd be like, now how did this person get through HR? Now, I'm going to train you still, but how did you make it through? No. So we have our pre-hire assessment piece. And so that's an example of something we rolled out. And so for those watching, guess what? You probably may have seen the promo and think, well, that ended May. If you're watching this podcast, you sign up, it's free for life to you too. Okay. So let's put that out there. You get it free. You get it for your center. It's our way of giving back. So our way of giving back. And that was one of those things that organically came out of it because we heard that there was a need. Staffing is an issue, right? We can talk about staffing all day long. We can all say staffing crisis. But how do you do your part to tackle that, even on the commercial side? Because we owe it to this community to do our part. So we're all about that. We're all about the training, obviously, with our simulation platform. Being able, we believe you should be able to simulate every single call that you ever want. We can't hold trainees back. Yes, I cannot hold a trainee back, y'all, just because they didn't take that call in training. We gotta let them
Right.
go. But now, if they can simulate calls and get the practice and get the reps in, awesome. And that's
Yep.
what we're about. And obviously quality assurance. I was a reluctant QI. I know quality assurance is important, but I was a reluctant Q. Training was my jam, right? But all respect in the world to those doing QA. And so again, we're all about assisting that too with the automated QA piece because, you need the data. It's important. But at the same time, nobody has the capacity and the bandwidth and the time to just be pulling it all this stuff all the time. So instead of sitting back going, I bet you didn't get your QA in time. I bet you're not giving it out. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't care. It's they just don't have the capacity and the time. So what we owe to this community that keeps us in business, that partners with us and trust us to help empower them, we owe to them to continue evolving our solutions and building and creating and meeting the needs. And that's what we do. It's what we do.
Very good. Very good. You mentioned the agency, the 4 months, the delay, and then kind of delaying payment. All of that takes a commitment from a partnership perspective, but it also takes listening. So that brings me into my next question, right? And it's
Mhm.
how can companies ensure they're truly listening to telecommunicators, dispatch leaders, and field responders when developing solutions for the 911 ecosystem?
All right, so I'm going to answer that question, but we gotta take a step back because here's what I'm a big believer in. Okay, I'm a big believer that as an organization, when you take care of the people at your organization, that can't help but bleed out in how they treat others. Okay, so talking about listening, coming into an organization with two amazing guys who had built it. Zach Randall, Aaron Disocamp, right? From the beginning, it was, we don't have 911 experience. You do. And the same thing in other stuff. Hey, we don't have the experience of that. So as we continue to add to our team, John Edwards, myself, we got Matthew Brooks, and we continue to add to our team, it's, we brought you here for a reason, so we want to listen to you. So this is our leadership saying, we want to listen to you. But guess what in turn your job is? Our job is to listen to you. Our job is to allow you and trust you to hold us accountable. But now those of you who work for this company, your job is to listen to the partners. Your job is for us and each other to hold each other accountable to the partners. So it's very important. Number one, people cannot feel like after the contract, it is done. That's not a partnership. They cannot feel, number one, that, oh my goodness, I have all these questions I want to ask. However, is there a charge? Is that, to me, again, support for us is free. And we try to emphasize that. I tell you what, I feel a certain way. When I have, true story, I've had folks who will say, man, I got some questions about this. I don't know how, is there a charge? Is there additional fees? And I'm sitting here like, please don't struggle in silence. Literally. We have user guides, but if that's too long, don't read. Use us. Reach out to us. Talk to us. We have to listen. And here's the thing. When we put out emails all the time. We are checking in with our folks. We got our champions and our cheerleaders, but that doesn't mean just check in with them. Don't just
Yep.
check in with the folks that is going to always refer, and that's great they're referring us. But you check in with the quiet accounts too. And I'm sorry, I hope no one watching this podcast later, and I use the Q word, I hope you're not at your desk. And so sorry. So sorry, folks. But check in on the folks that you don't hear from for a while. Check in on them too. Don't just be content with, well, they don't have to be using it every month or whatever. It's no, because if they're not using it often and regular, is there a barrier they've run into? You've got to reach out. You've got to check on them. You've got to make, hey, can I have some time with you? Can we book some time on the calendar? And then when you do, ask them for feedback. Always have ways from your solutions, from your software, from your site. Always have channels for them to give feedback. And we believe in that being like here. And that's one of the things when I onboard an agency, hey, just if this didn't work out as it should, this is how you report that. This is how you report it. But then don't just ask for feedback and do nothing with it, because then we'd be no better. I know coming, being all, coming from this side of the headset, right? And then, they're like, which chair would you like? We all get polled, and in the center we say which chair we want, and then we see the total opposite chair. They're like, well, why did you ask me, right? What was
Right.
the point? So if you're going to seek feedback, implement it. Use it. Maybe it doesn't look like exactly what they said, but acknowledge and address, hey, this is the problem you're trying to get fixed. This is what we came up. That's one of the best feelings in the world. When you have a partner come to you, an agency that you've been serving, a customer, and they say, you know what? I remember emailing you about 3 different things, and I've already seen 2 of those things get implemented. I've seen you support already a couple of those things. That's the best thing, because guess what? They're going to keep coming back. They're going to keep
Right.
giving more feedback. Now they realize it's a partnership, because
Yes.
we're not just growing and they're just here on the ride. They are helping us grow, and they're growing
Yes.
with us, and we're growing because of them. And that feels like a partnership. But you've got to be proactive. Can't sit back and just hope and wish and pray that they or you don't provide any channels for feedback. What are you afraid of?
Right.
Are you
Right.
afraid that you're going to get bad feedback? Because then that means do better, right? So
Yes.
provide the channels that they can give the good, bad, the ugly, whatever, and make sure you're clear about it, and make sure you respond to them when you get that feedback. So that's very important. Definitely important, I'd say.
Yeah. Everything you're saying here is extremely important. I kind of want to add to this because I've heard a bad stigma of, those of us in the 911 community and the feeling within companies of us not knowing kind of how to get out of our own way, kind of being a crutch to success. And I'll tell you, I've had an opportunity to sit in some rooms with some amazing public safety leaders, intelligence off the roof, forward thinking. And this goes back for a long time now. In Bella Hill, Washington, I remember a conversation that I had with a 911 director that was talking about AI at that time. And he had a high utilizer program to where they wanted to use AI to identify high utilizers to be able to move them at the point of the 911 call into the high utilizer program to access a variety of resources. He was talking about that then. That technology exists today, right? And when we were talking about it, there was nothing out there that was like it. And he was telling me, Ivan, we have individuals that call 40 to 50 times a month. He was trying to solve an issue. And so we're at the front line of those issues and challenges. A lot of times we know how to articulate it. We know what the solution can be. We just need someone to build it for us. So even if it's not readily available in your pipeline, kind of having those discussions within your companies, I think it's critical to success as we partner with vendors moving forward.
I love that. I love that. That's absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
So my next question is for leaders in companies that serve public safety, what is one principle they should adopt if they want their organization to generally support the people behind the headsets?
So right off, I'm gonna, in all transparency, I know it's biased. It's so biased. But here's the thing, because here I am joining. I joined this 911 ECC Engagement Lead with them, and yes, I bring the 911 experience. I'm a little hard pressed to think that to have any company where you are serving a space, you are serving an industry. I think right off the bat, you need to have someone on that team as part of your organization that comes from that side, that brings that insider knowledge. And I know, Ivan, I'm biased here because I
Right.
came from 911. But that was something that from the very beginning, Zach and Aaron, that they understood that, hey, we as outsiders looking in, as 2 smart dudes, right? But we're outsiders looking in. We can see the fractured, the cracks in the system. We can see the needs and the gaps. That's what brought them to it. Was literally a friend of theirs who worked for a university campus, university dispatch, said, hey guys, I have this training coming up, and there's only so much role playing I can do. What, you think y'all could build something for that? And they're like, "Oh, yeah." And they provided him with this, it's like, hey, here it is. And he put it to use, had a great training. He was like, oh, this is really great. By the way, I had he was like, there was a lot of other PSAPs and ECCs there. They want to know, can they borrow this? They were like, sure, man, how many? And he rolled out a list of 80. And they said, okay, 80 centers could use this. Wow. And that's how they got their start, right? But they recognized that they were outsiders looking in. They needed some insiders who come from it. And so me, our newest member of the team, Matthew Brooks, we bring that inside experience. And from the beginning, of onboarding calls. When our CEO was kind of stepped back and said, you know what, I'm going to loosen the reins and Sam, let you take over onboarding and talking to people because you speak their language and you can speak it better than I ever can. It's very important, not just for the aesthetics just because how it looks, but you have to recognize if you are going to lead an agency, an organization in this space, and you want to say, do not come up there saying, hey, I know I've never worn a headset, and you can build the best technology, the best solutions, but recognize you need to have members on your team that comes from public safety, that knows what it is to take the calls, knows what it is to have trained, to have done quality assurance, who can speak to that. So number one, make sure you have a team that truly reflects the community you are serving. And this is an amazing community.
Yes.
It is a very diverse community. So right off the bat, I think it's very important that you have folks that can speak the language of 911 because they've done it. Speak the language of public safety because they come from it. And the second thing as a leader of an organization that I see from my own, you got to never stop learning, never stop
Yes.
asking questions.
Yes.
Not just asking questions of your team members, because if you bring people on, you should be bringing on folks that you trust, that you can say, yes, tell me more about this, tell me more about that. But never stop asking questions of the wider community you serve as well. Book meetings just with your partners, and it would say, hey, this is a meeting. This is not about selling a new product. I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk about, this is what we have. Where do we need to go? What do we need to build for you? And it's amazing the conversations that will come up. And it's also amazing how much we like to talk in this industry too, when we feel like our input matters.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
never stop
Yes.
asking questions, never stop wanting to learn. It doesn't dim your light to acknowledge your lane. And it's, again, if you're someone leading a great company, you've built something, yes, embrace that, own that. That's awesome. But own the
Yes.
fact that you don't know everything. So have a team that knows the things that you don't know and can help bring you up to speed so that you don't lose touch with the people that you're supposed to be building these solutions for. That's my thoughts on that.
Couldn't agree more. Not only is what you're saying vital for external, but also internal, because even I can lose touch, right? And so, again, if you don't have someone on your staff as a vendor that is in touch or know about 911 or has worked in the dispatch center, and I'm saying as a leader inside of dispatch, I have to work to stay in touch. So it's very, very critical of what you're saying to have those type of folks in your organization. Samantha, when the 911 community looks back at companies and leaders who truly made a difference, what do you hope separates those who simply sold products from those who generally served the mission?
Hope that the technology that we built, that we put out there, never trumps the humans that built it. I hope that what they see, I don't want, if they were to say about this Gen 911, give it to me just in a few words, what comes to mind? More than just, man, they've got some really great AI simulation. More than, oh, they've just got a really great quality assurance product. That's good too. But you know what really is, when you go to conferences and we have customers of ours, partner agencies, that will walk up to the booth and say, hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt this demo. I just want to say I love these people because they listen to us and they care about us and they've been good partners. I hope at the end of it, we were good humans. We were good humans to the heroes in the seat. And I hope that they feel that to the end, for as long as we continue to do what we do at this Gen 911, they never, ever feel that we lost sight of them. And so, again, we know we're a business. We know we have a business model. But I think the best organizations work in such a way where your own customers, they forget. And it's so funny. The funniest thing in the world is sometimes we had a team meeting not too long ago, and we were talking about the fact that, like, with the pre-hire assessment, when rolling that out free, we have had customers that literally were like, are you guys okay? Are you good? Like, you could charge for that. Like, why are you doing? Are you guys still going to be in business? Because we really need you to still be in business. Like, do not go bankrupt. And we're like, don't you worry about that. That's not, we're fine. We can put stuff out for free. We can put out resources that is going to help, that is going to serve. And so to me, that's it. It's at the end of it. If they can look and say, as great as the technology was, as great as the simulation was, as great as the voices was, man, I got a real kick out of Granny Grace cussing folks out. I love that. I love that voice. The main thing is if they could say, but you know what? The humans were even better. The humans behind it was even better. And they never lost sight of us. And that to me is that's what the best vendors in the business, that's what matters, that's what you care about. That's your legacy. We know legacy is important, period. I've taught classes telling 911 professionals that it is never too early to think about the legacy you're leaving. And it's the same thing. I don't care if you're a startup. I don't care, when you came about. It is never too early as an organization, if you're in this space, to start thinking about the legacy you want to leave. What impression do you want people to have of you when they think of your name, they think of your company? So that's important. It's important to the folks, to my leadership, to my CEO, our founders. It's important to every one of us on that team.
Samantha, during this entire session, I've looked at your body language. I've looked at your passion, very impressed. I can see it when someone really cares about what it is that we do. And that energy is infectious. Is there anything that you'd like to share that's coming out with this Gen 9 that you would like our subscribers to know?
I love having good conversations. You know what? I will do a demo. I do demos. I do stuff. And at the end of the day, if I just had a great conversation, then awesome. Learn more about us. It's very important. No one should go into anything. I don't want you to go into a demo with us and not have some clue of what we're doing. I want you to try out. I want you to buy into it already, to start to buy in, because you shouldn't go into any partnership with any vendor blind. And so, you can, at our site, thisgen911.com, we have the opportunity to book a demo. We also say, hey, try it out. And it's not a gimmick. You truly can create an account and you can take some calls on the simulator and try out and simulate whatever you want. I don't care. Bear walking through my backyard now just entered my house, whatever you want. Simulate the calls and try it out and book a demo for us. And again, for those watching, if I were to ask you right now, what are you doing for pre-hire assessment? How are you helping the screen and stuff? And if you say we don't have anything, or we're looking for something new, we were doing something on paper, look, no judgment here, okay? If you're doing anything, kudos to you for even whatever you were doing to make it work. But if we can help support it and support you for $0, hey. So whether or not, obviously, I want to partner with you for everything. I want to partner with you with our training platform, quality assurance, our digital DORs, whatever. But if we can just partner with you on this one thing and you don't pay a dime, and it can help you actually filter out candidates. I know I've always wondered sometimes, I've had candidates sit with me and back at my old agency, and I'd be like, I wonder how they would sound on a 911 call. Well, you don't have to wonder, because that's one of the things of our pre-hire assessment. They take simulated calls, so now you have audio of their voice. And of course, it can be sent remotely, so it can be a proctored test. But that is free. That is free for life. So whether or not you partner with anything else, by the time you're watching this, you can reach out. You can book a demo with us on our site. Contact me at my email me at samantha@thisgen.ai, and we'll get that activated for free for you. And if that can benefit your center, if that's the only thing that we can do, and still it'll be welcome to the ThisGen 911 family for that. And to me, that's good enough. Okay, so that's the main thing that I want to put. Other than that, you guys, you're so worthy. You're so worthy, and you're so worth it, and you're so important. Your people deserve the best, and you deserve the best. Take care of each other and look out for each other. And so, as someone, I always appreciated 911 when I was doing it, Ivan, but since I've hung up the headset and I don't do it anymore, and I'm not a hero in the trenches anymore, but I support these heroes and I see them still do it, and I appreciate them even more.
Yes.
It takes a lot to do this job. It takes a lot.
Yes.
But I'm blessed, even though I'm not a hero on the headset anymore, I'm blessed to still get to impact this industry in some way. So just thank you again. This has been an awesome conversation, and look forward to seeing y'all at conferences, because I'm all over. So ThisGen 911, we're at every conference we can be at.
Samantha Hawkins, everyone, of ThisGen 911, extraordinary speaker, presenter, trainer, onboarding expert. Thank you so much for attending the podcast session today. Looking forward to the next conversation with you.